Hej, välkomna till Aktiedagen i Lund med Aktiespararna den 26 september 2022. Jag heter Gunnar Vrede och ska ställa lite frågor till det här bolaget som kommer nu, och det är ExpreS2ion Biotech Holding med vd Bent U. Frandsen. Välkommen.
Tack.
Och jag lämnar ordet till dig.
Tack så mycket. And I have to switch to English immediately so you can all understand me. My name is Bent Frandsen. I'm the CEO of ExpreS2ion Biotechnologies, and I'm here to present the status of the company and the growth opportunities ahead. Initially, we have a disclaimer here, the usual disclaimer, which I'll let you read in details about our forward-looking statements here at this presentation. We'll publish this presentation afterwards on our website. ExpreS2ion Biotechnologies is a biotech company with an advanced pipeline within vaccine development, within infectious diseases and oncology. We have a very strong IP position on our technologies that support our pipeline development. We have a unique protein production technology and a unique vaccine development platform, which constitute the two leading assets in our pipeline. And our pipeline is now, since earlier this month, in a phase 3 stage level, which is a great appreciation of the work we've done so far in the company's 12-year history. We've made more than 500 proteins using our protein production platform with a very high success rate if you look at other protein expression technologies out there. We address the global vaccine market, which has grown extremely the last couple of years, obviously due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but we are in a sweet spot with this market focus. Furthermore, we are progressing our pipeline towards further key catalysts, further de-risking the company's pipeline. We have, as I mentioned, the COVID-19 vaccine now in phase 3, potentially in a commercial stage by next year. First, very briefly about the technology platforms that we apply. To the left, you see our ExpreS platform, which is basically an insect cell-based technology that was the foundation of the company back in 2010. We have strong IPR revolving this protein production technology. We can make complex proteins using these insect cells, and that's what we've been doing for the first 10 years of the company's lifetime for clients. Since 2020, we have applied this technology in our pipeline focus. To the right, you have a unique Viruslike Particle technology. This is a technology that was invented at Copenhagen University and placed in a company called Aktiedagen, which is a company that ExpreS2ion co-founded in 2017. We own 34% of this company today. The combination of the Viruslike Particle technology and the protein production technology makes a very applicable vaccine platform, and this we have already good evidence for in our pipeline. So this is how we show our pipeline today. Our two lead assets, the coronavirus vaccine, which just, as I mentioned, started phase 3 this month. And secondly, we have the breast cancer vaccine project, which is in preclinical stage. And these two pipeline assets use the technologies that I just described. So we make, in the coronavirus vaccine, we make the SARS-CoV-2 antigen in our ExpreS platform and couple it to the VLP. In the breast cancer vaccine project, we make the HER2 antigen in our protein expression system and couple it to the VLP. And we have progressed on both of these assets over the year, or this year in particular. We are now beyond our preclinical in vivo proof of concept with the breast cancer vaccine, which I'll describe to you more in details. In the essence of time, I will not have that much to say on the influenza and the malaria vaccines programs, except these apply only, so to speak, our ExpreS protein production technology and apply various adjuvant technologies to address the vaccine applications here. And furthermore, just mentioning with the malaria vaccine projects, we are involved in a handful of various malaria vaccine projects. 2 of these are actually in clinical stage, furthermore supporting the ExpreS platform as a regulatory validated protein production platform. So, with respect to the breast cancer candidate, we call it ES2B-C001. We in-licensed it from our Aktiedagen company 2 years ago. We are addressing a market which today is characterized by monoclonal antibody treatments, which have a more than $11 billion turnover, and 2 of the lead products here are Herceptin, also known as trastuzumab, or Perjeta, also known as pertuzumab. These monoclonal antibodies, however, come with some drawbacks. For example, breast cancer patients can develop resistance over time towards the monoclonal antibody treatments. There is a potential heart-related side effect as well. And then the administration is rather cumbersome and expensive, with frequent visits to the hospital. And all of these drawbacks ExpreS2ion is addressing with our ES2B-C001 breast cancer vaccine. We have communicated very exciting preclinical proof of concept data in December last year, in January this year, and again in May this year. We have consistently shown very exciting preclinical proof of concept data. To the left, you can see data coming out of the research collaboration that we have with University of Bologna, where all of these preclinical studies take place in state-of-the-art animal models. And you can see on the graph that if you have 3 groups of mice, a control group, which is the black line, a green group, which is our vaccine ES2B-C001 without an adjuvant, and the red line ES2B-C001 with an adjuvant, you will notice that our vaccine actually can inhibit growth significantly. With an adjuvant, we're actually able to block the development of tumors completely. To the right, you also see encouraging data in a survival animal model. And here you will see that mice treated with ES2B-C001 with an adjuvant compared with mice that are not treated. The mice that are not treated will eventually die in the course of 32 weeks. And those who are treated with ES2B-C001, there was 1 out of 20 mice that didn't survive, but it, according to our investigator at University of Bologna, had nothing to do with the vaccine itself. So this is very encouraging. And again, we also documented the ability to treat resistant cells. To the left, you see an in vitro analysis where you can see in trastuzumab resistant cells that our vaccine, shown with the red bars, is actually able to inhibit growth as well in an in vitro assay. Again, to the right, another proof of concept trial that also saw the development of metastatic lung cancer nodules in mice that either were not treated, as in the control group to the right, or with our ES2B-C001 without an adjuvant and with an adjuvant. And again, you see a very strong vaccination efficacy. So we are very encouraged with this project, and this is the project that we spend most time on these days. We progress as planned. Now we have shown preclinical proof of concept, and we had in January this year a meeting with the authorities in Denmark to lay out the plans that we had for this to move into clinical trial, and got feedback that showed that we can do this, move into a clinical phase 1 trial in 2024. And next steps are really to scale up on the manufacturing side, as well as continue with the preclinical trials, now with an emphasis on showing safety. On the manufacturing side, we are very pleased that we have the manufacturing set up in place. We have done that this year, making service agreements with the manufacturers that can produce to a GMP scale the HER2 antigen as well as the VLP, as well as making the coupling. So this is going ahead as planned. On the preclinical safety side, we have also an external partner supporting us, a well-known preclinical contract research organization. We have a master service agreement with that organization made this year, and we are now conducting preclinical safety in 2 animals, as was advised by the authorities in Denmark. And we have begun those, and we are ahead. We have the in vivo part of the rodent safety study carried out, and we expect the final report to be ready here by the end of this year. A few words about the COVID-19 vaccine, which I acknowledge is a very important value contributor to the company. We are in phase 3 now, thanks to the licensee, Bavarian Nordic. Just a little bit of background. Bavarian Nordic, they in-licensed the COVID-19 vaccine in 2020, and they are now sponsoring the clinical development towards commercialization. And they, earlier this year in the spring, they announced very good proof of concept data from their clinical phase 2, which basically supported the evidence that ExpreS2ion and our partners making the preclinical and clinical phase 1 data also showed. So there's a very strong boosting effect on this vaccine across all variants of concern. And we see very high levels of neutralizing antibodies that also indicate a potential longer duration of protection. So Bavarian Nordic earlier this month have just begun the clinical phase 3 trial, which financially is supported by big funding from the Danish state. They are going to enroll 4,000 people in this study, where they're going to compare the vaccine with a messenger RNA vaccine, specifically the Pfizer-BioNTech Comirnaty COVID-19 vaccine. So they're going to show, we hope, non-inferiority towards the Comirnaty vaccine. They have the manufacturing setup in place. And furthermore, Bavarian Nordic have communicated that they expect headline results towards the end of this year, and actually plans a rolling submission of this to the authorities and a potential commercial status in 2023. Very important upside for ExpreS2ion Biotechnologies. The licensing setup revolving this project is such that the 2020 licensing agreement is between AdaptVac and Bavarian Nordic. And as you know, ExpreS2ion holds a 34% ownership of AdaptVac. So that's a very important ownership of the potential cash flow coming into AdaptVac. AdaptVac are eligible to receive, in addition to the 4 million euro which they received in 2020, a signing fee, they're eligible to receive up to 136 million euro in development and sales milestones, which are more and more near term, as well as single to double-digit percentage royalties of Bavarian's revenues. At the same time, ExpreS2ion has a license agreement with AdaptVac because our production technology for the antigen is in the final vaccine. So we have allowed, by a licensing agreement with AdaptVac to license this candidate to Bavarian Nordic. And we can receive up to 2 million euro in commercial milestone payments and a lower double-digit percentage of AdaptVac's royalties. And let me highlight again this 34% ownership of AdaptVac, which of course is a very valuable asset. ExpreS2ion Biotechnologies did a rights issue in the spring, and I want to appreciate and thank again to the investors who participate in this. We have a good cash position now, as you can see in this overview. In fact, by the end of the first half of 2022, we had the highest cash position ever. And that's going to support our ongoing development towards the clinical trial in 2024. Our shareholder composition is depicted here. I want to address the fact that we have had an enormous growth in our shareholder base in the last 2.5 years. We have grown from approximately 1,000 shareholders, which were more than 90% based in Sweden, to now around 14,000 shareholders, which are, let's say, 45% based in Denmark and Sweden. And we have more investors coming in from non-Scandinavian countries. So we are growing also on that aspect. Also want to highlight the development in ExpreS2ion's market value over the course of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is a graph showing both ExpreS2ions in the thick line as well as peer companies, which are dashed lines. If you have an index from 1st of January 2020 being 1, and then you see across up until now how these companies have performed over the last 2.5 years. The reason behind this is that in COVID-19, of course, those companies that were developing a COVID-19 vaccine got a lot of attention. We have been in the center of the hurricane in 2020 and 2021, and it's been very exciting. I am super excited that we are progressing on the COVID-19 vaccine. I'm super excited that Bavarian Nordic, which is a pure play, global, very commercial-oriented vaccine player, that they have the exclusive license to this product opportunity and can progress as well. But you can also see the attention over 2020 and 2021 have waned. And now with the current world situation, I think not only in the biotech sector, but also across all industries, that there is a negative environment in the general stock markets. Nevertheless, if you look at our market value today, I just want to emphasize that we're still a growth company if you look at where we were before COVID-19, and in particularly where we were when we started our strategy about focusing on pipeline development, which is only a 2.5-year-old strategy, and we still have a good return on investment on that sense. Finally, let me address our key catalysts as we move forward. With respect to the coronavirus vaccine project, we are very much dependent on Bavarian Nordic's progression on this, of course. So far, they are progressing very well. They have just initiated the phase 3 study, as I mentioned, this month. And as I mentioned, we'll see initial results from this trial towards the end of 2022, and then they will initiate a rolling submission next year, and hopefully there's a market launch even next year, allowing for a cash flow contribution, which we are still not daring to include in our projections. With respect to the breast cancer vaccine project, we have done our preclinical proof of concept evidence, and we are now moving ahead with GMP manufacturing and preclinical safety studies, and hopefully we can file a clinical trial application before the end of 2023, so we can start the first clinical trial in 2024 and move further with this project. And with influenza and malaria, I'll just conclude that we are progressing as planned. So, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Bent. Let's see now. When I read your annual report, you say that the goal is to establish ExpreS2ion as a global standard for production of protein-based vaccines. Then I think now when you have been speaking about the COVID vaccine, breast cancer vaccine, and then malaria, that is a kind of another project. Is it the method you are selling or the actual protein and developing? Can you explain to us?
You can say in the first 10 years of the company's lifetime, it was more the method. So we provided services to clients who wanted us to make their proteins with our method. So since January 2020, we are focusing on pipeline development, where we take our method and make our own vaccines. And this is what we do, in particularly with the COVID-19 and the breast cancer vaccine projects. We apply our method, and we have ownership in these assets. So we create value by having these pipeline assets. The method is applied also in the influenza and malaria vaccines, but here I would say it's more partner-based and more academically driven projects. So we're not that much in control, to be honest, about these projects.
Okay, okay. But still, there's like two business models here.
We have said, since we started on this strategy, that we maintain a business model with developing new pipeline assets, as well as still keeping clients happy. However, we do not spend money as we did in the past on promoting our service business. We channel the proceeds that we have into our pipeline development, where we can create the most value. But we are not going to say no to recurring clients. We still serve clients, and if new clients come and we can see a revenue potential, we will do that. But in effect, it means that when it comes to our top line, we cannot project, as we did in the past, with the same top line growth on the revenues from the service business. It's a very nice upside that we have, and I don't think other biotech companies that develop a pipeline have a revenue potential through actually also service offerings. We still have that, but since we don't promote it, it's also actually difficult to forecast the top line on that.
I see. Then, did I hear you correctly when you said that you expect top-line results from the COVID phase 3 in 2023? Or?
I'm using the exact phrasing as Bavarian Nordic that they use. Top-line results towards the end of 2022.
End of 2020, okay.
What does that mean? I think they are approaching a point where they have results from the phase 3.
It will mean a Christmas present.
I can only hope, but as I said, I do rely on Bavarian Nordic.
On the other hand, if I may be a bit critical, how is the demand for another COVID vaccine?
I'm of course very biased when I reply to that, but I think there is a demand for a protein-based vaccine, which is easily administered and handled as well. Bear in mind, we have shown stability in temperatures up to 40 degrees plus. Messenger RNA vaccines have very expensive cold chain logistics and can only be handled in -20, even to -80 degrees Celsius. So we have a very stable protein vaccine in that respect. And the potential durable protection is super important to highlight as well, which is, we know from the messenger RNA vaccines, we have probably all had COVID-19, even though we've been vaccinated with these vaccines. So I think that speaks for itself.
Fair enough, fair enough. Okay, I will try to put the next question in an understandable way, but it's a bit complicated. The COVID vaccine is tested in phase 3 by Bavarian Nordic. And the license lies in the company AdaptVac, APS, which you own by 34%.
Correct.
And the company NextGen owns 66%.
Yes, that's correct.
And as I understand it, you sold 16% to AdaptVac, in AdaptVac to NextGen, and in return got 100% of the breast cancer candidate.
That is correct.
Why did you do it?
We're talking about negotiations that started just before the pandemic was actually announced back in March 2020. We were in negotiations where we got an option to license in the breast cancer vaccine project from AdaptVac that we announced in February 2020. And part of the negotiations included that ownership divestment. I think it's difficult to assess in hindsight. Of course, there's a lot of value in AdaptVac in itself, given the fact that now we already have a phase 3 stage asset. It's good for both AdaptVac and expression. But
yeah, yes. Sorry.
No, I just want to say that we have that 34% ownership, and that's very important.
Of course.
Yes.
It's just when I look at it from the outside, it looks like you you have 100% of the breast cancer candidate now, and you sold a bit of the COVID vaccine. Means you believe more in the breast cancer candidate.
At that time, we had hardly started the COVID-19 vaccine. Remember, we announced the COVID-19 vaccine in the first week of February 2020, which is fantastic when you think about it now, that we dared to enter that field. And then later that month, we announced the option to license agreement with AdaptVac. So there's a bit of timing there. But overall, we are now actually focusing on the breast cancer vaccine project, which is also bringing in the capabilities in expression when it comes to preclinical development and clinical development and regulatory affairs. So that's super good. Okay. Time is running, and
I just assume that we will get good top-line results from the COVID vaccine now, up to around New Year. Are you, so to speak, home financially then?
That's a really good question. The reason that we just did a rights issue in the spring is that we were not sure if there would be a gap in 2023 where we would still not have access to the cash flow coming in through the COVID-19 vaccine. And so we're very pleased with the investors actually supporting us in closing that gap and de-risking our pipeline going forward. Let's see in 2023 how the phase 3 vaccine project goes with the COVID-19. It's an interesting opportunity. That's what I can say.
Very interesting. Well, Bent, thank you. I wish you very good luck.
Thank you very much.
Och jag återgår till svenska och vi tar en kort paus här och